You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
At dollarseed.com, all of our seeds are only $1 a pack. And we have online resources that teach you all about the rewarding hobby of growing your own plants, flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Imagine the joy you'll feel when your children actually help you harvest your first garden crop, or the pride of knowing you'll never need a florist again. Visit dollarseed.com and grow a little magic of your own for just $1. Dollarseed.com. What could be healthier?
What's up? What's up? What's going on, guys? Welcome to another incredible episode of Vigilantes Radio Live right here on iHeartRadio. And I'm your host, Deanie. We have some special guests for you guys. You definitely want to stick around for that. And as a matter of fact, text your buddies or your family members or even share it on social media right now and let them know that we are about to dive deep into another interview. All right, our interviews are designed to go beyond music, news, books, art, acting, films, technology, education, entrepreneurship, entertainment, and sometimes even past that thing that we call the ego. Our interviews are designed to go behind the scenes and into the minds of these incredible human beings. You know, the ones who are out there giving it their all for me, for you, and for the world.
Have you struggled budgeting your finances? Don't worry, you're not alone. HumbledBudget.com, that's HumbledBudget.com, is the help and resource you've been searching for. HumbledBudget.com is a personal finance and educational website with a great variety of topics when it comes to budgeting, taxes, investing, and the popular topic of FIRE, financial independence, retire early. HumbledBudget.com has a goal, and that's to help you reach your financial dreams, no matter what your goals are when it comes to finances. It doesn't matter where you start, where you come from, or where you are right now. HumbledBudget.com can help. What are you waiting for? Take that first step to the financial life you've dreamed of and go to HumbledBudget.com. That's HumbledBudget. HumbledBudget.com.
All right, again, welcome to the show. Welcome to an enlightening conversation with Joey-Florez and Mark B. Joey-Florez is a brilliant writer who has dived into the depths of psychology and emerged with captivating stories that touch the human soul. So today we will explore the intersection of psychology and storytelling, you know, and find out what we can find. For right now, let's go ahead and welcome them to the show. Joey and Mark B, welcome.
Yo, what's up? It's Mark Battles. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. Mr. Florez, what's going on?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So just to kick things off, just, warm things up a little bit, how can the study of psychology enhance our understanding of human experience and shape the narratives that we create?
So psychology in general is the study of the human mind and behavior, but it also helps us understand, everyday decisions that we make, our lifestyles and such, and it helps us improve our decision making as well. So that helps us reduce the likelihood of experiencing, bad mental health.
Absolutely. So I don't think I'm the only one who's noticed things happening within the hip hop community. we'll talk about some of that tonight, especially with some written articles. We have one from Billboard, which was written by Lawrence Prattle in November of 2022. But Chuck D speaks out against gun violence, emphasizing that it's not a normal behavior. I totally agree with that. I'm raising sons and daughters, and the things I see now as a parent versus when I was a teenager are kind of like, okay, now I see what my dad was talking about, But I think it's a little, it morphed for some reason between the millennium and now it's morphed into something else. So what are your thoughts on the normalization of gun crime in popular culture and its impact on our society?
So obviously Chuck D is a very, very popular figure in hip-hop music. He's not just very famous from being part of Public Enemy. He's also very famous as a standalone artist. So he's actually voiced a lot of opinions regarding gun crime. But this particular article from Billboard that you're referring to, this one pertains to Takeoff, which is one of the artists from Migos. And Mark actually, he's managed currently by Coach K, which is Kevin Lee. He's actually the manager and record label executive that is currently associated with Migos. I think Mark likely would have more insight into the situation regarding what happened with Takeoff. Migos is currently signed to Quality Control Music, right? With Coach
Correct.
K?
Yeah.
Is that right?
100%. Yeah. So, and that was they were the first group signed to Quality Control. So they did a lot of the grassroots work with Coach and with P, the two owners of the label. And honestly, speaking on Takeoff or speaking on a lot of these rappers that have been victims, to gun crimes lately, I feel like a lot of it, a lot of our kids coming up are desensitized to it because of the music, because of the glorification of, certain aspects of this lifestyle. And being somebody that grew up in what's glorified, my background is right on par with a lot of the things that get talked about. But I decided as an artist to never glorify that part of it, because when you make it seem like it's all glitz and glamour and it's fun and it's an exciting way to live, you sending the wrong message. And honestly, growing up the way that I grew up, that part of it was never fun. And that's the part that's confusing to me. They think because we grow up a certain way that we not scared too. I remember living down the street from a killer, and everybody in the neighborhood knew he was a killer. And I'm 12, 13 years old. I'm scared of the killer too. You know what I mean? We not here just all living in harmony. And it's to go outside knowing 12, 13, 14 years old, you can't go down the street without having your friends with you or your big bro or your cousin with you and feel comfortable. I remember being that kid on my block, feeling nervous about going up to Burger King by myself. And I didn't live in fear at the time. It didn't feel like fear. It just felt like this is life. This is just the norm. But then once you grow and you're out of that and you think about what it felt like to be in it, it's always been kind of confusing to me when I hear artists glorify it the way they do. Because as somebody that experienced it firsthand, it's just it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel exciting. It didn't feel fun. You know what I mean? I remember one time I was with a group of my friends. It was 5 or 6 of us. And one of my friends made a comment. He was like, Mark, it's 5 or 6 people. I can't remember the number, but it's 5 or 6 of us in a circle right now. You the only person in this crew that ain't been shot. And I thought about that wow. I was with a group of guys as my friends my whole life, and I was the only person in our group that had never been shot. That's the reality of what we're growing up in. That's the reality of what we experience. But once you put a beat on and we start talking about it and make it sound fun and make it sound exciting, make it sound like it's an action movie or something like that, I think that's what makes people start to look at it like it's not real life, or like the artists aren't real people. And looking back at pictures, I got a picture in my room right now of 6 of my friends, and I'm in the picture with 6 people I grew up with, and all of them is dead. I'm the only person still living. That's the reality of this gun violence, you know? So I guess I look at it differently than a lot of artists, and I know they're looking for a way out. A lot of fans gravitate to that type of music, but it kind of make me emotional thinking about it, man, because it's not as fun as they make it seem.
All right, for sure.
No, and Mark, for the listeners who may not know who you are, can you just give a little bit of details on who you are?
Okay, yeah, my name is Mark Battles. Now, I've been doing this underground thing for a minute. I own my own label, which is called the Bossy Family. But like you said, I'm managed by Coach K, Quality Control. So that's my family over there too. And I've been doing my thing for a while, touring, you know, putting out my own music, getting on the road, building my own fan. So yeah, you know, but my music is I guess is a little more on the conscious side. I wouldn't say I'm like a Common or, you know, like a Talib Kweli or nothing like that, but I definitely speak on a lot of the things that the Billboard article touched on. I speak on a lot of the things that the Source article touched on, so this is right up my alley.
But going back to what we were talking about regarding the Billboard article with Chuck D, so to be honest, the gun violence is a very serious problem.
Right.
It's a very, very serious problem. But the thing is that in the hip-hop culture, it's normalized now.
Yeah.
It's glamorized, and how it is nowadays with hip-hop music and rap music, it's not how it was before. Before, for example, back in like the 80s and 90s, when NWA, when Bone Thugs and Harmony, when they were first emerging into like the hip-hop industry, people weren't attracted to the messages that they were putting out. So Bone Thugs and Harmony, they used to go by, I think, called Bone Enterprise, is that right? And then I think it was that Eazy-E had them change the name to Bone Thugs and Harmony. Is that a rumor or is that?
That's true.
That's true? Well, around that time when NWA was being formed and Bone Thugs and Harmony, they were just coming out with the message about, you know, racial profiling and gun violence that was happening in the black communities. Obviously, they began to get very popular, and then from there, the whole gangster rap became super popular. And it took maybe 1 or 2 decades for it to become normalized. Now the kids nowadays, they think that this whole gun violence, that the whole thing is all cool and everything. Like, they don't understand the reality of it. When I was a kid, I was probably like around 9 or 10 years old. I was introduced to Eminem, MC Juice. And around that time, I had a friend who I grew up with. He's actually one of the first people that introduced me to rap music. And I think he was like around 15 or 16 years old. He was walking up, coming out of like a party where I live, and he was shot 2 times in the head. They wanted to steal his gold chain, and that's the reason why they shot him 2 times. It was a big manhunt. The guy actually had fled to another state, but eventually they had caught into the guy, and they arrested him. He's actually locked up right now. But these type of situations, obviously with gun violence is common, but there's an issue there in the music industry.
Okay, so I have an important question. Is this a part of a social experiment? Because for some reason, only the black rappers are dying from gun violence.
Look, it looks like, or it appears like it's actually a problem that stems from like the black community, but it actually is not so. There is, there's white people, Asian people, Indian people, obviously a lot of Hispanic people that are dying from gun violence. But obviously with black Americans, they're more susceptible to that. I read a study in 2019 from Frank Edwards from Rutgers University, and he found that police violence, in terms of police, trying to arrest or possibly even shoot black people when they're being confronted, even if there is an actual cause for them to be confronted by the police or not, that police violence is the leading cause of death for young men aged 25 to 29 in the U.S. 1 in 1,000 black American men are actually expected to be killed by police. That's actually from a research study from the Rutgers University School of Criminal Justice.
Yeah, but more white people die from police violence than black people do. We're only 13% of the population.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but you have to be careful because with research studies and then when people publicize in the news, they tend to cherry pick. They tend to cherry pick data and they make it appear as if there's a more serious problem than there is.
obviously, since the white population is more, and because there isn't that much spotlight in like the white people committing crimes, in a way, yes, white people are actually getting shot more. They're actually committing more violence than black people.
Oh.
But the news only show a certain colored face. And that goes back to the music, that goes back to mental health. Mark Battles, you were mentioned in an article in The Source that was written by Sean Grant.
Right.
About certain artists being vocal about their past addictions, struggles, mental health, things like that. How far are we getting with the message, Mark?
Yeah.
How far is it getting to this?
Right. So I love the fact that you brought that up, and I love the way that you introduced that question, because that question is what seems to never get answered, right? There's always discussions about it. We're always having dialogue and back and forth, and everybody's stating their opinion, but we always miss the mark. Like, what is being done about it? And I always feel like the message gets lost in the conversation, because the conversation always leads to other conversations, right? Because there's so many things that are being done right in front of our faces, blatantly done right in front of our faces. And it's like, we don't never focus enough energy on one thing because we're trying to fight the entire fight. And I think we got to break it down, and we got to start somewhere, right? Because this conversation could lead to us talking about how many different things. Like, just think about it. Like, it's so much blatant, it's so many just like heinous things going on right in front of our faces that we have become accustomed to seeing, that we have become desensitized. Like, everything is just, oh, well, another school shooting, another mall shooting, oh, well, another grocery store shooting, oh, well, another deranged husband kills wife and family, oh, well, right? So it's like, you can never really focus on one thing because you look left and you got this, you look right and you got this. And I think that's a part of the problem, is because we're so exposed to, like, we're overexposed. Like, before the internet, you just knew what was going on in your neighborhood or in your city, in your town. Now you know all of the problems in the world everywhere. So how do you actually start attacking those problems when you feel like you're overwhelmed with everything that's going on, right? So then we're just left with conversation. Well, we need to do this, we need to do that. So let's just reel it in, right? So if we want to talk about one specific thing, and we want to make some progress, unfortunately, we got to leave some of the fight for somebody else, and we got to start somewhere. So with us, when we talk about the black community, we talk about gun violence in the black community. We talk about people who have been victims of gun violence, or who have had family members who have been victims of gun violence. We understand that other races have been victims of gun violence. We understand that other communities are suffering in alarming rates as well. But if we don't just focus on it somewhere and start somewhere, it'll just continue to be conversation. And for me, I think it's important for us to say, okay, as artists, I have a big influence. I go do a show. I'm speaking to 500, 700 people, depending on the night, and they're listening to every word, if they don't already know the words to the song that I'm performing at the time. And anytime I say anything that may just be for fun, you know, it may just sound dope on the track, but it don't necessarily align with my beliefs, I always question myself. And the older I get, the more mature I get, the more my audience matures, the less I feel inclined to speak on things that don't align with me. And that's where I try to cut slack to some of these artists, because a lot of these dudes, they're not in their early 30s like I am. They're 22, 23 years old. And all they care about is getting themselves in a better position, getting their family in a better position. So if y'all want to hear me talk about killing people, y'all want to hear me talk about, you know, spinning the block, and that's what's going to get me the streams, I'm not thinking about the repercussions. but I'm also not recognizing how influential I am because I was just in my neighborhood a year ago, 2 years ago. I was just eating mayonnaise sandwiches a year ago, 2 years ago. So it's like, you're not thinking about the impact that you having on a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid that's still in the environment that you just escaped from. You just don't want to go back. So it's hard for them to feel like, oh, this is because of me. You know, because you're not thinking about that. All you're thinking about is, I can put my family in a better situation. I can set us up for the future. I'm just going to say what they want me to say. If they wanted me to say something else, I would say it. But this is what they want to hear. It's unfortunate, the influence that we have as artists, because we don't necessarily get the freedom that people think we have. And I remember saying things at 24, 25, 26 years old that I would never say now. And I remember just loosely saying it because it sounded good on a song. And I wasn't always thinking about everything that I said. But the older you get, the more you pay attention to the impact that you can have on people. So you kind of got to cut these guys slack when they're coming from the environments that they're coming from. They only know one way of life, right? But on the flip side of it, we have to start speaking about these things, and we have to start making other things attractive, making other things sound cool. The only thing that sounds dope on the track is you talking about having an extendo, or, you know what I mean? How many, like, you gonna spin the block? Like, let's find a way to make something else sound interesting. And as soon as the fans show that they're willing to be more open-minded, the artists will start talking about more. I know half of these dudes. I know 90% of these dudes. They solid guys. Like, these ain't a bunch of crazy, maniac, lunatic, loose cannons. Like, these are solid guys that spend 90% of their time in the studio or on a stage. They not out here killing people. They just know that that's what the audience want to hear. And if, as the audience, these people start to show that they're willing to listen to more, when you got conscious artists speaking on certain things, press play on the song sometimes. But if we're never listening to that, you're going to continue to get what you've been getting, because that's what's selling.
That is one big issue, though, in the hip-hop industry or just in music in general. So a famous rapper gets gunned down, right? The whole music industry and the fans and everything, they start mourning the death. They make a few statements, like on social media, or, you know, they talk to the media, and then they return to business as usual. And they begin again promoting content that glorifies black murder and trauma. The cycle just repeats again and again with every single big-scale murder that happens. There was actually an article that I shared with Dini about Chance the Rapper. He's a Chicago rapper. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with Chance.
That's my guy.
He's probably one of the few artists that actually he's done a lot to try and combat the problem with gun violence, because you know that in Chicago, it's a very serious problem.
Right.
Gun violence in Chicago is super bad. It's been bad for like the past 10 years. I know you guys probably noticed that Chicago got the nickname Chirac. But Chance is actually one of the few hip-hop artists that's done a lot with the youth. We're trying to reduce gun violence, you know, trying to increase participation in school programs. He was doing a lot of campaigning with that during like latter part of the 2010s. But look, the gun violence is probably one of the most important things, everything that we've discussed during our entire conversation.
Yeah.
And look, I've been a victim of gun violence, not directly, but indirectly, by what I mentioned in terms of me having a childhood friend who I grew up with who was shot because he was carrying around a gold chain on his neck.
Right.
It fucks you up in the long term. Like, immediately, the people who are affected by gun violence, obviously they're going to cry and mourn and everything, and it's not really a big issue after some time.
People forget about it and they go back to their normal life. But there's actually long-term psychological effects that happen, and people suffer for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. So going back to what Mark Battles said about listeners' preference.
Yeah.
So if we can change the listener's preference, we may have a chance. I don't believe that personally. I think that we're so far deep into this. I mean, the roots are there. It's going to continue. and nothing's going to happen to someone that the world really, really cares about, you know, then we may have some type of people come in and change something, but then it may be something that we don't agree with, like gun control or something like that. But yeah, with the listener's preference, and all these artists like you, Kendrick Lamar, Vic Mensa, Chance the Rapper, you know, shedding light, what can we do even in the media world to help this? Because outside of mainstream media, you know what they promote, you know what they push. It's always some type of agenda. And, you know, sometimes I don't think it's listener preference. I think it's someone telling the listeners that they think they want to hear this kind of stuff. Because if you really ask these artists, like you said, man, we really want to talk about some things of substance, you know?
Yeah. Well,
but that doesn't sell.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I love the way that you introduce these topics, man. I'm just going to show you some love and respect right now because it's easy to stay on point with the way that you introduce these topics. But I think there's some validity to what you're saying, man. And I feel like it may be beyond hip-hop media. It may be something else going on behind the scenes that is responsible for the energy that certain artists get. And even when those artists make the decision to try to do something different, 9 times out of 10, those songs don't get the same push. And it's like you're only allowed to get 1 or 2 a year of those type of songs where I wouldn't say a positive song, but just a song with some substance. Like a Lil Baby, you know, he dropped his a couple years ago, and that went crazy. And now Dirk got his new one going out. But it's like they only allow you 1 of those songs every couple years, right? And it just seems coincidental to me. It's like these songs work so well. Like, why would it take Dirk this long to drop a song like that? And it's doing so well. It's probably going to be the biggest song he ever dropped. So it makes you think, it's like, so it can't just be the consumers. It has to be something else.
Politics has a very, very big significant factor in the music industry. If that's something that actually affects not just the artists, but the record labels and, you know, the execs and everything. So people in Congress, people that are in politics, they closely watch, they closely observe, you know, all the big trends that are happening. And whenever there's something that either they don't like due to it being like political in nature. What I was discussing in the beginning of the conversation with when NWA and Easy, when they were coming up in Compton, there was a lot of political conflict with them becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys saw the NWA movie that came out. They came out with like a movie like years ago. There was like a little bit of panic with NWA becoming mainstream because not just their name, but just their music in general. They've never had gangster rap as part of mainstream music before, and so it was something that they were scared of in like the whole culture. But after some time, people began to normalize the NWA music and everything like that, and eventually people just accepted that gun violence was part of black culture, and then they just began making money off of it, glamorizing it, and normalizing it, which is the issue that we're discussing now.
That's because
but it's still going on. It's still going on right now, though. That's the problem, though.
Right. Black people think this is our culture.
That's the thing, though. They have the false impression of not just black people in low-income communities. There's a very, very big problem with stigma because of the hip-hop industry. Well, not just black people, but Hispanic people, too. Because there's a lot of Hispanic people that had wrote off the popularity that the hip-hop industry had promoted. So it's not just a black issue, it's also an issue with Latino rappers. There is very few Asian rappers too, but it's a multicultural issue.
All right, so in closing, I just really want to know what can we do, especially on the mental health, and with more people coming forward with, hey, maybe I'm not okay, you know, maybe I'm dealing with a lot of pressure and I don't know how to translate it. I don't know how to translate it through violence, maybe beating someone up or going off on someone in traffic. I just think we need some hands-on help.
Best thing is to raise awareness of the problem, which is something that some hip-hop artists have done. But the problem is that with politics, there's a lot of partisanship. For example, in Chicago, the Democratic Party, they run the whole city of Chicago. And there is a lot of public corruption. I think it was 70s or 80s. They had arrested judges, they had arrested cops, they had arrested a bunch of people that were in public office for the very same crimes that they were prosecuting black people for and Hispanics. So politics is a very important factor, but they're also complicit in part of the issue as well. So it becomes a very challenging.
But I think from a media standpoint, from the standpoint of just me being a creative and knowing that there's other creatives out here that are recognizing the issues that we're speaking on right now, but they still love to create. They still love to be in media. They still love to make music. They still love to express themselves through the arts. I think what Houdini is asking is, what can we do? And what I think we can do is, I think we can all agree that this is a problem that is internal, but it's pushed externally. So internally, we're causing a lot of, it's almost self-inflicted in a sense, but there's an outside force that's fanning the flames, right? So in order for us to really recognize what the true problem is, we got to take a step back and try to do things differently, and then see if we're persuaded to go back in this direction. So I got a lot of homies, a lot of artists. I've been in this game a long time. I've done features with French Montana. I did an album with Tory Lanez. So it's like Tory Lanez is a great example of what he just dealt with. I did a collab album with Tory Lanez. Like, just any of these artists that you may think of that may come to mind when you think of more of a street artist or something like that. If you sit down and have a conversation with these guys with the cameras off, when they're not in character, I'm not speaking on Tory or French Montana specifically. I'm speaking on just a lot of these artists in general, just any rap artist that's current right now. You sit down and have a conversation with a lot of these guys, they got the biggest hearts in the world. They give back to the community. They buy T-shirts and they buy coats for kids. They're giving out turkeys and hams during Thanksgiving. They care about where they're from.
There's only few artists, hip-hop artists that are not like that. For example, Kodak, he got a pardon from Donald Trump. He got a presidential pardon, right? And then after he got locked up again, I think it was for like a weapons charge. So there's people who value their life really well, and they're not like how they're glamorizing music. But obviously, that's just a few of them. Most of them are just like Mark said. They're not how they're portraying the music culture.
They solid guys.
They're good people. They're giving back to their communities. They're trying to build up their communities. You know, they're trying to do what they can.
So what I would suggest is, from a media standpoint, from an artist standpoint, whoever we have influence over or the people that we have connections to, I just think we try things a different way. And the only way we can do that is we got to support the guys that are stepping out and willing to speak on certain things that aren't typically talked about. And then when you got guys like the street guys like a Dirt, when he puts out a song, like the song he just put out with J. Cole, the media that doesn't typically cover a Dirt, the more conscious media, the media that's not interested in some of the other things he talks about, we got to get behind this song. We got to celebrate this song. We got to convince a Dirt to do more music like this. But if we focus on who got the most power and influence, then we'll never get started, right? You don't start off with the most power and influence. All you can do is control what you can control. So if you got an audience, if you're a podcaster, you got a blog that's getting 1,000, 2,000 clicks a day. That's not major, right? But at the end of the day, if we start there and we continue to grow, and everybody is on the same page from an underground or a mid-major standpoint, it'll start to make waves, right? You might not have the biggest voice, but you still got a voice. And I'm at the point where right now, with all the artists that I know, all the guys that I've worked with, all the guys that I got love and respect for, all the guys that got love and respect for me, like, they know what I'm on right now, and they respect what I'm on. And I got songs coming out this year with some of the biggest artists in the world, and they doing songs that sound like me, with me. And if I can get an A-list artist to jump on a song, like the song that I'm gonna drop in a couple of months, that's really speaking on a lot of these things, if I can get them to do that and support me and co-sign me with a message like that, then I think we can all find a way to start at least moving in that direction. But if we keep just throwing our hands up, it's like, no matter what we do, we don't got the biggest voice, mainstream media is going to drown us out, whatever, then we're going to be stuck in the same position. But we got to start somewhere. And like I said, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm not like some Christian rapper or nothing like that. I don't pretend to be perfect, but I do know one thing. Like, I lost a lot of friends growing up in the environment that I grew up in. I lost a lot of family members. My cousin, my nephew, 2 years ago, my nephew got murdered in my old neighborhood, selling a phone on Facebook Marketplace, and they robbed him and killed him. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's people like me that's just fed up with it. And no amount of money is worth me being a part of pushing a message that's destroying my community. It just ain't. And eventually, if we continue to celebrate certain things like, you know, just music, I'm not saying the music has to be music that could be played at church. I'm just saying we got to stop pretending like it sounds dope when you talking about killing 5 people in one verse or shooting up the crib. I don't care if your mama in the house and this and that. That's the stuff we celebrate.
There was like a song that you came out with or a video about, I think it was about like gun violence or mental health.
A little bit of both, yeah, I guess you could say that. It was just about my life and what it felt like growing up in my neighborhood, you know, in an impoverished situation, growing up in an environment where you had to fight every day. You had to look over your shoulder. So, you know, I try to speak on these things, and I've touched hundreds of thousands and millions of people with my message, but, I mean, like you said, it doesn't get glamorized. It doesn't get championed like some of the other stuff does. And until that happens, there's only so much you can do as far as an artist, you know, making certain songs. It's going to take more than just that.
And
okay.
Before we let you guys go, I do want to say this. As I was listening to the conversation, most of the time it's like, you know, most conversations aren't solution-based, but just listening to you two gentlemen, I think once we control the flow of the money, like let's say Mark Battles go on a campaign for a new album and it's promoting a healthy lifestyle, you know, check your mental health, check your well-being, spread love. I believe once those dollars are redistributed to someone like this, the listeners will follow because they're promoting a certain lifestyle, they're promoting a certain image, and that's what they're pumping all the money into, all the ads. Yeah. They're promoting it, they're spending the money. So if we control where that money is going and redirect it to something more positive, we can have some type of chance for some type of change.
That's real. That's real.
They do it all
Absolutely.
day. Ford did it with their campaign. Bud Light just did it. Try to change the conversation.
Yeah.
Money is what you need to do it.
Absolutely.
All right. Mark Battles, where can people connect with you online?
Everywhere. You can find me on all socials at Mark Battles 317. That's Mark Battles, Mark with a K, 317. Come tap in with me. I mean, I got a lot of music dropping right now. I'm working on a new album. I just put out a mixtape in March called Paramount. I'm working on my new album right now. Got a lot of big features, real big A-list names that'll be on that album, man. I'm excited about this year, but I mean, this is a fight that I'm gonna continue to fight. So I love talking about this. I haven't done a lot of interviews because this just isn't something that people typically talk about. So I appreciate y'all having me as a guest. Hopefully, you know, it's a lot more conversations in the near future for me in regards to this type of subject matter because I'm super passionate about it, man. And Deanie, you seem like a great guy. I would love to connect with you again, but we just got to keep fighting this fight, man. You know, and we got to figure out a way because eventually it's gonna get to the point where it will be too late, and you know we'll be closer to the end than we will be or being able to get a fresh start. So hopefully we figure this thing out.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, and Joey-Florez, where can people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram at joey-florez, COM, and Twitter at it's Jose Florez. Deanie, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. I would love to continue this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
This is Coach Deanie, creator and host of Vigilantes Radio Live and VP of Operations of IamBusyBone.com. I wanted to let everybody know that the My Music Block TV Awards are back and bigger than ever, celebrating 6 years of excellence. The MMBTVAs honor the most exceptional artists, including actors, writers, producers, dancers, musicians, and performers within the fine arts community, and is not limited to leaders in the community, such as activists, entrepreneurs, teachers, and leaders of peace. My Music Block TV started as a television show showcasing music videos, theater, live performances, and interviews in the San Francisco Bay Area, and has become a pivotal part of the entertainment industry. Now an award show that honors underrated talent. Submissions are currently open to all artists, all genres, all ages, all performers. Some of last year's big winners were Jack Frost, Samantha Lavelle, Dick James, Diamond, S.A. Dreamer, and Married at First Sight, Lindsay G., just to name a few. You don't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get your artistry rewarded. Your time is now. Visit linktree.com/MMB Awards or email grmhonors@gmail.com. Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio Live. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab it from either Spreaker.com/Only One Media Group, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, the app Podcast Addict, or over at our website, which again is onlyonemediagroup.com, and that goes for every single show that we've ever aired. If you like to request some music or send something for me to play, email it to vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. That is V as in Victor. And here's my disclaimer: we are genre free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, scratch all of that, because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Just kidding. On behalf of myself, Deanie, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word, because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, at all social media sites, as well as Spreaker, YouTube. We always follow back. Okay, well, just remember to put yourself into everything that you do and never stop investing in yourself. Peace, love, grilled cheese, and talk with you later.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.